We spend our entire lives figuring out how to make money. We read the books. We work the 80-hour weeks. We study the stock market, optimize our resumes, and sacrifice our weekends. We treat wealth generation as a science, something driven by numbers, data, and hard effort. But there is a silent, overlooked truth that nobody teaches you in school. Making money is only half the battle. Knowing how to spend it is a completely different skill. In fact, it might be the hardest financial skill of all. Most people assume that once you get rich, spending money is easy. You just buy what you want, right? But look beneath the surface, and you will see that spending money is a psychological minefield. It is an expression of your deepest insecurities, your childhood wounds, your ego, and your desire for acceptance. Morgan Housel, the best-selling author of The Psychology of Money, beautifully noted that money is like water. It can be used to create life, or it can be used to drown you. How you spend money is the ultimate mirror of who you are. It reveals your relationship with status, your understanding of happiness, and your definition of freedom. Yet, we rarely talk about the art of spending. In this video, we are going to dissect the hidden psychology of how we use our wealth. We will explore the traps that keep the rich feeling poor, the illusions of luxury, and the timeless principles of spending money to buy the only thing that actually matters, a better life. Welcome to the art of spending money. Audio CUE, music swells, then transitions into a rhythmic, intellectual, lo-fi beat. Chapter 1, The Trap of the Unhealed Wound. To understand why people spend money the way they do, we cannot look at their bank accounts. We have to look at their past. One of Morgan Housel's most profound observations is that your spending habits are heavily dictated by your past insecurities. Think about the man who grew up in extreme poverty. As a child, he watched his parents stress over every penny, constantly living on the brink of eviction. Fast forward 30 years. That child is now a highly successful tech executive making $500,000 a year. By all objective metrics, he is wealthy. But how does he spend? There are two paths this unhealed childhood wound can take. On the first path, he becomes a hyper-hoarder. He hoards every dollar, terrified that the ghost of poverty will catch up to him. He lives in a small apartment, drives a beat-up sedan, and denies himself even the simplest pleasures. His spending is governed by fear. On the second path, he becomes flamboyantly extravagant. He buys the flashy sports cars, the designer clothes, and the massive mansion. Not because he loves the cars or the house, but because he is desperately trying to signal to the world, and to his childhood self, that he is no longer that poor, vulnerable boy. His spending is governed by a need for validation. Spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money. When we use money to heal an emotional wound, the spending becomes compulsive. We aren't buying the object, we are buying the feeling we think the object will give us. If you were ignored as a child, you might spend money on loud luxury to be noticed. If you were rejected by peers, you might spend money on country club memberships to feel included. If you felt powerless, you might spend money on a massive corporation just to feel powerful. Before you tap your credit card next time, ask yourself a brutal question: am I buying this because I genuinely enjoy it, or am I trying to fix a past version of myself that didn't feel like enough? True financial freedom begins when you realize that your bank account cannot heal your ego. Chapter 2, The Illusion of Status Consumption. Let's talk about the concept of status. We live in a hyper-visible world. Social media has turned our lives into a 24/7 reality show where our success is judged by what we display. This has birthed a massive epidemic of what economists call conspicuous consumption, the act of spending money on goods and services primarily to display economic power. But there is a tragic irony at the heart of status spending. Housel calls it the rich car guy paradox. Imagine you see a guy driving a brand new, $300,000 Ferrari down the street. What is your immediate reaction? You probably think, wow, look at that car. If I drove that, people would think I'm cool, successful, and important. Notice what happened there. You didn't look at the driver and think, wow, that driver is so cool. Instead, you imagined yourself in the driver's seat. The paradox is this: the man bought the Ferrari to get admiration from others. But the people looking at the Ferrari don't admire him, they use his car as a benchmark for their own fantasies. The driver remains completely invisible. When you spend money on luxury items to gain respect and admiration, you are playing a losing game. Respect cannot be bought with a piece of metal, a leather handbag, or a Swiss watch. Respect is earned through your character, your kindness, your humility, and your intelligence. Furthermore, status spending creates an endless hedonic treadmill. If you buy a luxury car to impress your neighbors, what happens when your neighbor buys a better car? Suddenly, your joy evaporates, and you are forced to spend more money just to maintain your position on the social hierarchy. Wealth, in its truest form, is what you don't see. It's the cars not bought. The diamonds not purchased. The first-class tickets declined. Wealth is the financial assets that have not yet been converted into the stuff you see. When you spend money to look rich, you are actively destroying your wealth. Chapter 3: The Danger of Lifestyle Creep. Let's look at a phenomenon that ruins more wealthy people than bad stock market investments: lifestyle creep. When you start your career, you might be making $40,000 a year. You live with a roommate, eat instant noodles, drive a baseline car, and yet, somehow, you survive. You might even be happy. A decade later, you're making $200,000 a year. But strangely, you don't feel any richer. You still feel stressed about money. You're still living paycheck to paycheck. Where did the money go? It went to lifestyle creep. As your income rose, your expectations rose right along with it. The modest apartment became a luxury condo. The casual dining became Michelin-star dinners. The public gym became a $300 a month boutique fitness club. There is nothing inherently wrong with enjoying the fruits of your labor. You worked hard, and you deserve comfort. The danger arises when your lifestyle expands at the exact same rate as your income, or worse, faster. Housel points out that an advanced level of spending requires an advanced level of maintenance. A bigger house means a bigger mortgage, higher property taxes, more expensive utility bills, and higher maintenance costs. A luxury European sports car means $1,000 oil changes and hyper-expensive insurance premiums. When you increase your lifestyle, you are not just spending money today, you are committing yourself to a higher financial baseline for the rest of your life. You shackle yourself to your job. You can no longer afford to take a career risk, start a business, or take a sabbatical, because your monthly overhead is too high. The art of spending money requires you to build a firewall between your income and your ego. When your income increases, let your savings rate increase first. Keep your lifestyle anchored to a level that satisfies your comfort, not your pride. Remember, the ultimate currency is control over your time. Every time you upgrade your lifestyle needlessly, you sell a piece of your future freedom. Chapter 4: Spending on Time versus Spending on Stuff. If spending money on status and stuff is a psychological trap, how should we spend our money? What is the optimal way to convert dollars into human happiness? The answer lies in understanding the difference between material consumption and experiential/time consumption. Data from behavioral psychology shows that the happiness bump we get from buying material things, a new phone, a new couch, a new jacket, fades incredibly fast. This is due to hedonic adaptation. The human brain is wired to accept new baselines quickly. The new phone becomes just my phone within a week. However, spending money to buy back your time yields the highest, most sustainable returns on happiness. Think about it. Money can buy you the ability to hire someone to clean your house, freeing up your Saturdays. Pay for a meal delivery service so you don't spend hours cooking and doing dishes after an exhausting workday. Live closer to your office, eliminating a soul-crushing 2-hour daily commute. Retire early, or leave a toxic job without fear. Morgan Housel notes that the greatest intrinsic value of money is its ability to give you control over your days. Being able to wake up every morning and say, "I can do whatever I want today," that is the highest dividend money pays. When you spend money on things, you are often buying stress. When you spend money on time, you are buying peace.